"You're too old to fly with us to the Bahamas. Just look after the house," said my son, dismissing me as if I were useless. They flew off on a paradise vacation with my in-laws, who were even older than me, while I stayed behind in the house they considered their inheritance. When they returned, the house was gone, and so was I. They called me 46 times. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 65 years old, a retired math teacher, and a widow of 5 years. I used to believe family meant loyalty, gratitude, and respect, until mine taught me otherwise. What they didn't realize was that decades of teaching teenagers had prepared me to handle betrayal, discipline entitlement, and execute a lesson they'd never forget. You're tuned into this tale on the Renvenge Zinnia channel, where buried truths are unearthed through the voices of those who lived them. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. Bahamas brochures lay on my coffee table like colorful promises. My son Liam traced their golden beaches with manicured fingers, Sophia nodding over his shoulder. Her parents, Henry and Olivia, lounged on my couch, debating departure times and hotel perks as if the trip was their birthright. "The Nassau resort's perfect," Liam bubbled. 4 bedrooms, ocean view, private beach. I reached for a brochure. "Sounds wonderful. When do we—" "Mom," Liam cut in, his hand gently but firmly pushing the paper away. "You're too old for such adventures." His words hit like ice water. "Better stay home. Watch the house," he added casually. "We're going with Sophia's parents, their dream trip." Henry, 67, 2 years older than me, chuckled. "Can't wait for those sunsets." Olivia, 64, chimed in. "The kids will love snorkeling." I stared, stunned. Too old, yet they were fit for paradise? "I've never been to the Bahamas," I murmured. Sophia shrugged. "Maybe next time, Mom. This is a family thing." Family? The word twisted in my chest. They planned with smug confidence, as if I, the woman who'd housed them for 5 years, wasn't there. Liam scrolled through restaurant photos, Sophia flipping brochures, their voices drowning out my silent hurt. "Flight's Thursday," Liam said, eyes elsewhere. 10 days. You'll have the place to yourself. A little vacation." A vacation from what? From free rent? Meals they barely thanked? Sophia's complaints while her games drained my electricity? I stood, knees creaking at 65, Liam's excuse for my exclusion. "I'll get things ready for house sitting," I said. "You're the best, Mom," he beamed, his old bedtime story smile now cold, calculated. Henry raised his mug to family vacations, their laughter stinging like betrayal. I walked to the hallway, their chatter of sunset dinners and helicopter tours trailing me. The hardwood creaked, echoing the night Robert and I danced here for our 30th anniversary. He'd have fought for me, insisting family meant all of us. But he'd been gone 5 years, and the son we raised saw me as a burden. Liam's voice followed. "Dad always said Mom needs looking after." A lie. Robert never said that. Pausing at the bedroom door, their laughter steeled my resolve. They'd soon learn I wasn't the burden they thought. The evening light slanted through my bedroom window, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor where Robert's reading chair used to sit. 3 hours later, I sat on the edge of my bed, still wearing the same clothes from dinner. My reflection stared back from Robert's old vanity mirror, a woman who'd apparently become invisible in her own home. The house had settled into its evening rhythm, but voices drifted up from the living room below. Initially, their laughter seemed distant, muffled by the old walls and vents. I'd planned to ignore them completely, maybe read one of the mystery novels Robert had loved. Then Sophia's voice cut through the ambient noise, clearer than it should have been. Honestly, think she bought that whole too old nonsense? My book fell closed. I froze, every muscle suddenly taut. Liam's response floated up through the heating vent near my feet. "Mom's always been gullible. Remember when we told her we'd pay her back for the roof repairs?" Their laughter followed, casual, dismissive, cruel. I moved carefully toward the vent, my teacher's instincts kicking in. 30 years of classroom management had taught me when to listen and when to act. This was definitely a listening moment. The timing worked out perfectly. Henry's voice joined in. Right after we returned from the Bahamas, we put her in that nursing home we researched. My breath caught. Ah, nursing home. Twilight Haven has an opening next month, Olivia added, her tone businesslike. They said they could expedite the paperwork if we paid the deposit up front. How much? Sophia asked. $3,000, Henry replied. But it's worth it to get her settled quickly. Once she's there, this house becomes ours anyway. It's our inheritance. The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. I gripped the windowsill, my knuckles going white against the painted wood. Liam's voice continued, animated now. I already contacted that real estate agent, Olivia Hayes. She thinks we can get at least $800,000, maybe more, with the market the way it is. Split 4 ways, Sophia asked. Obviously, Mom, Dad, you've earned your share dealing with her complaints these past few years. Olivia laughed. She's gotten rather demanding, hasn't she? Always asking about our plans, wanting to be included in everything. The entitlement is unreal, Liam agreed. Like, Mom, you're 65, except that your active years are behind you. I sank onto the bed, my legs suddenly unreliable. 5 years I'd housed them. 5 years of grocery bills, utility payments, repairs, and maintenance, while Sophia looked for work and Liam figured out his next career move. They'd eaten my food, used my car, borrowed my tools, and never once offered genuine gratitude. Sophia's voice grew louder, more excited. The best part is she'll never see it coming. We've got her convinced we're just concerned about her well-being. Mom always was too trusting, Liam said. Dad used to say, Your father never said anything about your mother being a burden, Henry interrupted, surprising me. That man adored her. Well, he's not here to object now, is he? Liam's voice had turned sharp. And frankly, this is what's best for everyone. Mom gets professional care. We get financial security. Professional care? They made it sound like a medical necessity rather than a convenient disposal. The conversation continued, but I'd heard enough. I stood slowly, walked to my dresser, and opened the bottom drawer where I kept Robert's jewelry box. Inside, beneath his wedding ring, lay the deed to this house. The house I'd bought with my teaching salary, the house where Robert and I had planned to grow old together. My reflection stared back from the vanity mirror, but something had changed in those few minutes of eavesdropping. The woman looking back at me no longer seemed invisible. I closed the jewelry box quietly and returned to sit on the bed's edge, listening to their voices fade as they moved to another part of the house. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, Sophia's desperate voice from 5 years ago echoed in my memory, competing with tonight's casual cruelty. February 2020. The call had come at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. I remembered the exact time because I'd been grading algebra tests, red pen in hand when my phone buzzed. Emily. Sophia's voice had been raw, broken. I need help. I've lost everything. The story had tumbled out between sobs. Online poker sites, cryptocurrency investments that promised guaranteed returns, sports betting apps that had seemed like easy money, $47,000 in credit card debt, the house in foreclosure, Liam crying in the background, pregnant with their second child. It was supposed to be Bitcoin, she'd whispered. Everyone said it couldn't fail. I put our savings, the home equity loan, everything into it right before the crash. I'd listened, my teacher's heart breaking for this young woman who'd somehow become family. Robert had been gone only months, and the house felt too empty, too quiet. Liam was my son. These were my grandchildren. We have nowhere to go, Sophia had continued. Liam's parents are, well, Liam's dad never approved of me. We can't ask them. She'd met Robert's sister, who'd made her disapproval of Sophia clear from the wedding day, but Robert wasn't there to moderate family tensions anymore. Now, lying in the darkness, I recognized the calculation behind that desperation. She'd known exactly which emotional buttons to press: the grieving widow, the protective grandmother, the woman with an empty house and a generous heart. I rose from bed, walking to the window that overlooked the backyard where my grandchildren played on the swing set I'd installed. The metal frame gleamed silver in the moonlight, $300 from my pension money. Their bicycles leaned against the garage, training wheels I'd purchased and installed myself because Sophia was too busy looking for work. My hands trembled as I calculated the expenses in my notebook. Over $60,000 poured into their lives over 5 years. Groceries, doubled utilities, the roof repair after the storm, medical bills when their insurance lapsed, even car fixes for the vehicle they'd claimed as theirs. Robert's words echoed. "You'll want to know where the money goes, honey." But flipping through pages of their endless requests, urgent, temporary, always with empty promises, I realized my algebra of generosity had turned into a devastating equation. They'd curdled gratitude into entitlement, and I was done being their bank. The house creaked around me, settling into its late-night quiet. In the morning, they'd wake up refreshed, planning their vacation. They'd pack the suitcases I'd bought them for Christmas, drive to the airport in the car I'd helped finance after their repo scare, board the plane with tickets funded by the inheritance they'd already claimed. Meanwhile, I'd stay behind like an obedient house-sitter, maintaining the home they decided was rightfully theirs. But as I sat there in the dark, surrounded by photographs of my teaching awards and Robert's garden club certificates, something crystallized in my chest. They'd made a fundamental miscalculation. They'd confused kindness with weakness, generosity with stupidity. 40 years of teaching had required strategy, patience, and the ability to stay 3 steps ahead of students who thought they could outsmart the system. Some lessons were learned through guidance. Others required consequence. I closed the expense notebook and placed it back in the drawer, my movements deliberate and quiet. Tomorrow morning would bring new possibilities. Dawn filtered through the kitchen blinds as I entered, finding the family already buzzing with travel energy. Liam stood at the counter, organizing boarding passes and travel documents into neat piles. Sophia hunched over her phone, presumably checking flight status, while Henry and Olivia compared sunscreen brands like military strategists planning invasion routes. "Morning, Mom," Liam called cheerfully, not looking up from his paperwork fortress. "Coffee's fresh if you want some." I poured myself a cup, studying their animated faces with fresh perspective. Yesterday, I would have seen excited family members preparing for adventure. Today, I observed co-conspirators celebrating their successful manipulation. "Flight leaves at 10:15, Sophia announced, scrolling through her screen. "We should head out by 8:30 to beat traffic." "Did you remember to pack the camera charger?" Olivia asked Liam. "Already in the carry-on, plus backup batteries." Their efficiency impressed me. The same organizational skills they'd never applied to finding employment or contributing to household expenses. Apparently, planning luxury vacations required different talents than securing basic income. "Is there anything special you need me to do while house-sitting?" I asked, settling into my usual chair at the breakfast table. Liam finally glanced up, his expression patronizing. "Just the usual, Mom. Water the plants, check the mail, maybe have Beatrice from next door look in on you." Beatrice Lawson, my 73-year-old neighbor, who'd known Robert and me for 15 years. Liam suggested she look in on me as if I were an invalid requiring supervision. "I'm perfectly capable of managing alone," I replied mildly. Sophia snorted. "Right, Mom. Just don't try fixing anything that breaks. Call a professional." The irony struck me forcefully. Sophia, who'd lost her house to gambling debts, advising me about responsible home maintenance. I sipped my coffee and nodded agreeably. Of course, I wouldn't want to cause problems. My compliance seemed to satisfy them. Henry folded a tourist map of Nassau, tucking it into his shirt pocket. 2 weeks of paradise. We've earned this. Earned through 5 years of free housing, meals, and financial support they'd never acknowledged, let alone reciprocated. The time will pass quickly, I assured them. I might catch up on some reading, maybe organize a few things around the house. Liam's eyes brightened. That would be perfect, Mom. You could start with the garage. It's gotten so cluttered. Cluttered with their belongings, naturally. Items they'd stored there when they moved in, then forgotten as my garage became their personal warehouse. Olivia began transferring items from the counter into her purse. Boarding passes, identification, travel insurance documents. The resort confirmed our suite upgrade, ocean view, private lanai, concierge service. Sounds wonderful, I managed, calculating the cost of such accommodations. Easily $4,000 for 2 weeks, money they'd never possessed, but somehow now commanded. Sophia's phone chimed. Uber's 5 minutes out. The announcement triggered sudden movement. Suitcases appeared. Last-minute items were grabbed. General chaos replaced their earlier organization. I stood back, observing their departure preparations with detached interest. Mom, you're sure you're okay staying alone? Liam asked, though his question sounded more like polite formality than genuine concern. Absolutely, I'll enjoy the quiet. He kissed my cheek, a gesture that once would have warmed my heart. Now it felt like a calculated performance for an audience of relatives who expected sonly affection. Car doors slammed outside. Sophia loaded luggage while the others gathered final belongings. Within 10 minutes, my house would return to the silence I'd supposedly requested. Take care of yourself, Henry called, wheeling a suitcase toward the door. Drive safely, I replied, meaning it despite everything. The front door closed with decisive finality. Engine sounds faded down the street. Suddenly, I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by abandoned coffee cups and scattered travel brochures. For the first time in 5 years, the house belonged entirely to me again. I walked to my kitchen window and watched their car disappear around the corner, carrying my ungrateful family toward their stolen paradise. 2 weeks, 14 days to consider my options, evaluate my resources, and perhaps demonstrate that the burden they dismissed possessed capabilities they'd never suspected. I finished my coffee slowly, methodically planning my next move. Need a ride to the airport? I offered, as Sophia struggled with Liam's oversized suitcase. Actually, yeah, she panted. The Uber just canceled. Traffic backup on I-80. Perfect. One final performance as their helpful chauffeur. The drive to San Francisco International took 45 minutes through typical Friday morning congestion. I listened to their excited chatter about snorkeling excursions and sunset dinners, marveling at how easily they discussed luxury activities funded by my lifetime of savings. Remember to take pictures of everything, I told them at passenger drop-off. I'd love to see the Bahamas through your eyes. Liam hugged me briefly. We'll send postcards, Mom. Don't work too hard while we're gone. Sophia grabbed the heaviest luggage. Thanks for the ride, Mom. You're a lifesaver. Lifesaver. The casual irony wasn't lost on me. I waited until their figures disappeared into the terminal, then drove home with growing anticipation. By 11 o'clock, I was dialing the number Liam had mentioned in his overheard conversation. Olivia Hayes, Realty speaking. Ms. Hayes, this is Emily Carter. I need to sell my house as quickly as possible. A brief pause. How quickly are we talking, Mrs. Carter? 2 weeks maximum. I'm willing to price it aggressively for a fast sale. That's ambitious. What's driving the urgency? I'd prepared for this question. Personal circumstances require immediate liquidity. I understand speed comes at a cost. Where is the property located? Palo Alto area, single-family home, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, no mortgage, clear title. Her tone shifted, becoming more interested. No mortgage is excellent for quick sales. What's the approximate square footage? 2,800 square feet, updated kitchen, new roof 5 years ago, established neighborhood. Mrs. Carter, I can be there in an hour if you're available. This timeline is aggressive, but with the right pricing and a cash buyer, it's not impossible. An hour. In 60 minutes, I'd take the first concrete step toward demonstrating exactly how burdensome this old woman could be when properly motivated. "I'll be waiting," I confirmed. After ending the call, I walked through my house with new eyes. These rooms had witnessed Robert's laughter, Liam's childhood milestones, family celebrations that felt authentic back when I believed family meant mutual loyalty and support. Now they represented something different. Assets to be liquidated, equity to be liberated, resources for restructuring the power dynamics that had governed my life for 5 years. I retrieved the house deed from Robert's jewelry box along with property tax records and homeowner's insurance documents. Everything Olivia would need to verify my ownership and assess market value. The doorbell rang precisely 1 hour later. Olivia Hayes appeared younger than I'd expected, maybe 45, wearing a navy blazer despite the California heat. She carried a tablet and measuring tape, prepared for immediate business. "Mrs. Carter," she extended her hand, "I appreciate you calling. Based on our conversation, I think we can work together effectively. Come in, I'll show you everything." She stepped into my foyer, already making mental calculations. Beautiful home, original hardwood floors. Refinished 5 years ago. Robert, my late husband, insisted on maintaining original character. "Smart man. Original features add significant value." She pulled out her tablet. "Before we tour, let me explain the process for your timeline. 2 weeks means we need cash buyers, minimal contingencies, and competitive pricing. Are you prepared for those requirements?" I nodded. "Speed matters more than maximum profit." "Excellent. Then let's see what we're working with." As Olivia began her professional assessment, measuring rooms and noting architectural details, I felt something shift in my chest. After years of reacting to other people's decisions, I was finally taking control of my circumstances. Liam had mentioned Olivia's name while planning to sell my house without my knowledge. Now she was here at my invitation, working toward my goals, operating on my timeline. The symmetry felt like justice, beginning to balance the scales. 3 hours after Olivia left with her preliminary assessment and promised to start making calls immediately, my phone rang. The display showed an unfamiliar number, but I recognized the area code. Bahamas. Mom. Liam's voice bubbled through the speaker, bright with tropical enthusiasm. "We made it safely. The resort is absolutely incredible." I settled into my kitchen chair, Olivia's business card still visible on the counter beside her folder of property documents. "I'm so glad you arrived safely. How was the flight?" "Long, but worth it. Mom, you should see this place. Private beach, infinity pool, spa services, the works. Sophia's already booked us a helicopter tour for tomorrow." "That sounds amazing." I traced the edge of Olivia's card while speaking. "I hope you take lots of pictures." "Oh, we will. The concierge recommended this incredible restaurant for tonight. 5-star dining right on the beach. You'd probably find it too fancy, but we're excited to try it." "Too fancy for me." "Naturally. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time." Liam's tone shifted slightly, becoming more paternal. "How are you managing on your own? You're not trying to cook elaborate meals, are you? Remember what I said about keeping things simple?" "I'm taking very good care of everything," I assured him, my eyes moving to the real estate documents scattered across my table. "Actually, keeping quite busy." "Good, good. Just don't overexert yourself. We worried about leaving you alone. But Sophia reminded me that you need to learn independence at your age." "Independence?" The word carried delicious irony given my morning's activities. "Speaking of independence," Liam continued, "we've been discussing something. We're actually preparing a little surprise for you when we get back, something that'll be really good for your future." My grip tightened on the phone. "A surprise?" "I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say we found a solution to help you transition into your golden years more comfortably. Professional care, social activities with people your own age, that sort of thing." Professional care. The euphemism they'd used while planning my disposal. "How thoughtful of you," I managed, keeping my voice steady. "Actually, that's interesting timing. I'm preparing a surprise for you, too." "Oh." Liam laughed. What kind of surprise could you possibly be planning, Mom? Well, if I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise, would it? I allowed myself a small smile. Let's just say I've been taking care of some important business while you're away. Really important business that'll change everything for all of us. Business? Mom, you're retired. What kind of business could you possibly... He stopped himself, probably realizing how dismissive he sounded. I mean, that's sweet, but don't wear yourself out with whatever little project you're working on. Little project. If only he knew. Don't worry about me, I said calmly. I'm handling everything perfectly. In fact, I think you'll be absolutely amazed by what I've accomplished by the time you return. Well, just be careful, okay? We'll call again in a few days to check on you. I'll be here, I confirmed, though the definition of here might be quite different by then. After hanging up, I sat quietly in my kitchen, surrounded by the afternoon silence and the weight of mutual deception. Liam was preparing to dispose of me in a nursing home, confident I'd never discover their plan. Meanwhile, I was preparing to dispose of the house they considered their inheritance, confident they'd never expect such decisive action from their supposed burden. Both sides planning surprises, both sides convinced of their strategic advantage. Only one side was actually in control. I picked up Olivia's business card and smiled. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Sunday morning brought Olivia's call at precisely 9 o'clock, along with our first potential buyer. Sophia Grant represented a commercial investment group looking for rental properties in established neighborhoods. The timeline is aggressive, Olivia warned me privately before Grant's arrival. Most buyers need weeks to arrange financing. This lady deals in cash transactions, but she'll expect significant price flexibility. Cash transactions, perfect for my abbreviated schedule. Grant arrived in a silver BMW wearing expensive casual clothes and carrying a leather portfolio. Mid-50s, confident handshake, the kind of practiced efficiency that suggested numerous property acquisitions. Beautiful neighborhood, she observed, scanning my front yard with calculating eyes. Good bones on this house. Walk me through the key selling points. I led her room by room, highlighting the refinished hardwood floors, updated kitchen, and new roof. Each feature I described felt like betraying Robert's memory, but I pressed forward with professional determination. The master bedroom has excellent natural light, I explained, opening blinds Robert had chosen 15 years ago. Original crown molding throughout. Grant nodded, making notes on her tablet. What's your motivation for selling? The timeline Olivia mentioned suggests urgency. I'd rehearsed this answer. Personal circumstances require immediate liquidity. I'm prepared to price competitively for a quick close. How competitively? That depends on your timeline capabilities. We completed the tour in 30 minutes. Grant examined everything with an investor's detachment, calculating rental potential, renovation costs, long-term value appreciation. Her interest seemed genuine, her questions practical rather than emotional. The property has excellent fundamentals, she concluded, shaking my hand in the foyer. Let me run numbers with my partners. You'll hear from me by tomorrow afternoon. After she left, I felt cautiously optimistic. Cash buyer, professional approach, realistic timeline expectations. Perhaps my plan would unfold smoothly after all. Monday afternoon shattered that optimism. I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter, Grant said over the phone. After analysis, the numbers don't align with our investment parameters at the current asking price. My stomach dropped. What would align with your parameters? Honestly, about $60,000 less than you're asking. The rental market in that area doesn't support higher acquisition costs. $60,000, nearly equal to everything I'd invested in Liam's family over 5 years. That's substantial, I managed. I understand. Take time to consider. My offer stands for 48 hours. After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen, staring at Olivia's business card. Was I really willing to lose $60,000 for revenge? Was proving my independence worth such financial sacrifice? For a moment, doubt crept in. Liam was still my son. Sophia, despite her flaws, was mother to my grandchildren. Maybe I was overreacting to hurt feelings and wounded pride. Then I remembered their laughter during that overheard conversation. The casual cruelty of planning my disposal while living in my house, eating my food, spending my money. The nursing home deposit they'd already arranged. The real estate agent they'd already contacted. They'd made their choice 5 years ago, deciding I was a resource to be exploited rather than family to be cherished. Now they'd face the consequences of that choice. I picked up my phone and dialed Olivia. "I accept Grant's offer," I said without preamble. "Mrs. Carter, are you certain? That's a significant reduction. We might find better." "I'm certain. How quickly can we close with cash and minimal contingencies?" 8 days, possibly less. 8 days, plenty of time before their return. "Drop the papers," I confirmed. As I hung up, something settled in my chest, a calm, cold certainty that felt like justice finally taking shape. They wanted to treat me like a burden. Fine. They'd discover exactly how expensive that burden could be when properly motivated. The house they'd planned to inherit would be gone. The money they'd counted on would disappear into my pocket, along with my willingness to subsidize their comfortable unemployment. Some lessons, I reflected, were worth every penny they cost. Wednesday morning brought unexpected validation. Olivia called with news that made my earlier doubts seem foolish. "Mrs. Carter, I have remarkable developments. Grant's investment firm wants to expedite everything. They're offering an additional $10,000 above our agreed price for a guaranteed 7-day close." I set down my coffee cup carefully. "They're offering more money for faster service." "Exactly. Apparently they have capital deployment deadlines, and your property fits perfectly into their second quarter acquisition targets. They want to close by next Tuesday." Next Tuesday, 5 days before Liam's return from the Bahamas. What's required from my end? Minimal. Since they're waiving inspection contingencies and paying cash, we primarily need signatures and title clearance. Their attorney has already begun paperwork. I walked to my kitchen window, looking out at the backyard where my grandchildren had played on equipment I'd purchased. Soon other children would play here while their parents paid rent to Sophia Grant's investment company. "Mrs. Carter, are you comfortable with the accelerated timeline?" Comfortable. I was euphoric. "Absolutely. What do I need to sign?" "I'll bring documents this afternoon. Grant's attorney wants to review everything tomorrow. Then we'll schedule closing for Monday." After hanging up, I sat in my silent house, surrounded by decades of accumulated memories that would soon belong to strangers. The irony wasn't lost on me. Grant's business urgency perfectly aligned with my revenge timeline. Liam and his family were likely sitting on some Bahamian beach at this moment, sipping tropical drinks and discussing their plans for my professional care. They probably felt quite clever about their surprise nursing home arrangement, confident that I'd never suspect their scheme. If only they knew that their supposed burden had outmaneuvered them completely. The phone rang again. Unknown number. Bahamas area code. "Mom," Sophia's voice this time, probably calling while Liam was at the spa. "How are you holding up?" "Wonderfully well," I replied truthfully, "taking care of business just as I promised." "Good to hear. Not getting into any trouble, I hope." She laughed at her own joke. "Nothing I can't handle," I assured her. "How's paradise treating you?" "Can't complain. Helicopter tour yesterday was incredible. Liam's getting a massage right now. He said to tell you hi." "Tell him I said hello. I hope you're both enjoying every moment." "We are. Kids are loving the beach. Olivia and Henry are talking about extending the trip if we can change flights." "Extending the trip? Even better for my timeline." "That sounds wonderful. Don't worry about rushing back on my account." "You sure? We don't want to leave you alone too long." "I'm perfectly fine. Really, I'm handling everything better than you might expect." After Sophia hung up, I smiled at the beautiful symmetry. They were so confident in their plans, so certain I'd remain their compliant victim, that they were actually considering giving me more time to complete my counter strategy. By the time they returned to California, whether in 10 days or 14, they'd discover that their inheritance had evaporated, and their house sitter had evolved into something far more formidable than the burden they'd dismissed. I picked up Olivia's business card and traced its edges with my finger. Monday couldn't come fast enough. Thursday morning, I tackled the most satisfying task of my retirement, packing away their lives. Starting in Liam's room, I boxed up expensive clothes, bought with my money, jewelry from forgotten birthdays, and photos of trips I'd funded but missed. Sophia's gaming gear and gambling books went next, reminders of the debts I'd covered. I hired movers to haul everything to a nearby storage unit, paying 6 months in advance for their exile. As boxes vanished into the dim space, justice felt tangible. The final one held Liam's childhood treasures, awards and drawings I'd cherished, my hands shaking as I locked it away. By evening, the house stood empty, ready for new owners. In my modest new apartment, arranging my own things, I reclaimed control. No more free meals, no more complaints, no more unwanted plans for my life. My phone rang as I unpacked my teaching awards. The caller ID showed a Bahamas number. Mom! Liam's voice sounded relaxed, probably calling from their resort balcony. Just checking in. How are you managing? I looked around my sparse but peaceful apartment, then at the house keys I'd soon surrender to Sophia Grant. Extremely well, I said with complete honesty. Everything's exactly where it should be. Good to hear. We're having such an amazing time. The concierge arranged a private beach dinner tonight. Enjoy every moment, I encouraged. Make sure you create memories to last a lifetime. Because after Monday, those memories would be all they'd have left of their comfortable parasitic existence. After ending the call, I sat in my new kitchen, drinking coffee and contemplating the elegant justice of the situation. They'd wanted me gone from their lives. Now they'd discover what absence actually meant. Some lessons required complete immersion to be properly understood. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. I sat in Linda Martinez's notary office, surrounded by the documents that would legally cement my revenge. Across from me, Sophia Grant reviewed the final paperwork with the efficiency of someone accustomed to property acquisitions. Everything appears in order, Linda announced, arranging the deed transfer documents in precise rows. Mrs. Carter, I'll need to verify your identification one more time. I handed over my driver's license, watching her compare the photograph to my face. 65 years old, retired mathematics teacher, about to complete the most calculated decision of my life. Ms. Grant, your company's certified funds have been verified, she continued. We can proceed with the closing. Olivia sat nearby, tablet in hand, looking satisfied with her successful navigation of an impossible timeline. In 7 days, she'd managed what typically took weeks, a testament to the power of cash transactions and motivated sellers. The deed transfer is our first document, Linda explained, sliding papers across the table. This officially transfers ownership of 847 Maple Street from Emily Carter to Pinnacle Investment Holdings. 847 Maple Street, the address where Robert and I had planned to grow old together, where Liam had taken his first steps, where 3 generations of memories lived in every room. Now it belonged to strangers who'd convert it into rental income. I signed my name with steady hands. Property disclosure statements next, Linda continued. These confirm the condition of the house and any known issues. Known issues? Did emotional betrayal count as a structural problem? Did years of ingratitude affect the foundation's stability? I initialed each page methodically. Financial settlement sheet, Grant said, sliding another document forward. Final purchase price minus closing costs and agent commissions. The numbers told their own story. Purchase price reduced by $60,000 to ensure quick sale. Agent fees, legal costs, title insurance. The final amount still represented more money than I'd seen in one place since Robert's life insurance payout 5 years ago. Money that would fund my independence while Liam's family discovered what homelessness felt like. Your signature here makes the sale legally binding, Linda noted, pointing to the final line. I paused for a moment, pen hovering above the paper. Once signed, there would be no reversal. Liam and Sophia would return from the Bahamas to find their assumed inheritance had vanished into corporate ownership. Their comfortable parasitic lifestyle would end permanently. The pen touched paper. My signature flowed across the line in the same careful script I'd used to grade papers for 40 years. "Congratulations," Grant said, extending her hand. "Pinnacle Investment is pleased to add this property to our portfolio." We shook hands, the retired teacher and the investment executive, completing a transaction that would devastate 4 people currently sipping tropical drinks in paradise. "Commission payment," Olivia noted, accepting her check from Grant. "Thank you both for making this possible." Linda gathered the signed documents, applying her notarial seal to each page. "This concludes the closing. Mrs. Carter, you have 30 minutes to collect any remaining personal items, then possession transfers to Pinnacle Investment. 30 minutes to say goodbye to the house where I'd been happy, where I'd been exploited, where I'd finally discovered the difference between family and parasites." I drove to 847 Maple Street one final time, using the keys I'd surrender in 20 minutes. Walking through empty rooms, I felt something I hadn't experienced since Robert's death: complete closure. The living room where Liam had announced my exclusion from their Bahamas trip, the kitchen where I'd overheard their nursing home plans, the bedroom where I'd processed their betrayal and chosen justice over victimhood. Each room now belonged to Sophia Grant's company, who'd rent them to tenants who'd actually pay for the privilege of living there. I collected Robert's photo from the mantel and my teaching certificates from the walls. Everything else, furniture, appliances, fixtures, belonged to the new owners per our agreement. Standing in the foyer where I'd welcomed Liam's family 5 years ago, I felt the weight of transformation. The generous widow who'd offered sanctuary had evolved into something far more strategic. The burden they'd planned to dispose of had disposed of them instead. My phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Mom, having an amazing time. Sophia wants to extend the trip a week. Hope you're okay alone. Love, Liam." An extra week to savor my victory. I locked 847 Maple Street for the last time, handed the keys to Grant, and drove away as she discussed rental plans on her phone. 4 days until my family returned to find their inheritance gone. In a Nassau beachfront hotel, I sipped coffee, palm trees swaying outside my window, enjoying the vacation they'd deemed me too old for, funded by the house they'd claimed. At 4 o'clock California time, Beatrice called, voice trembling with excitement. "Emily, they're back." "How'd they take it?" I asked, picturing their shock. Liam insisted it was a mistake, tried barging into the house. The new owners showed the deed, calm but firm. Sophia screamed about lawyers until they mentioned police. Olivia cried, "Henry kept asking where you'd gone." "Did you give them the storage information?" "Just as you said," handed Liam the address for their things. He crumpled it, demanding to know where you were. "And you told them? You'd left town after selling the house. They could call you directly." I glanced at my phone, buzzing with unanswered calls. "They're trying hard now." "Every 10 minutes, Beatrice laughed. "Are you really at the Grand Nassau Resort?" "Their resort," I confirmed. "Beatrice, you've been a godsend." "After 5 years of them treating you like an ATM, I'm impressed. Robert would be proud." He would. My revenge had mathematical precision. "What now?" I asked. "They're in a taxi, probably to a hotel." Liam looked devastated. Devastated. Like I'd felt overhearing their nursing home plans. "Tell them I'm enjoying my vacation and will call when I'm ready." "How long?" "Until they know what being discarded feels like." Hanging up, I stepped onto the balcony, breathing tropical air they'd thought I couldn't handle. Helicopters buzzed overhead, carrying tourists on adventures I'd supposedly outgrown. My phone lit up. Liam, Sophia, Olivia, their voicemails a chorus of panic. Liam's first demanded answers. Sophia's threatened lawyers. Liam's last begged, "Please, Mom, we have nowhere to go." I ignored them, ordered room service, and watched the sunset they'd tried to deny me. Boarding the first-class flight to Nassau, funded by their lost inheritance, I lifted a champagne flute as the Boeing 777 soared above California's fading lights. "Celebrating anything special, Mrs. Carter?" the flight attendant asked. "Independence Day," I smiled. Long overdue. Below, my family scrambled in some hotel, their calls unanswered. The Pacific stretched ahead, carrying me to the paradise they'd denied me, while they learned what it meant to lose everything. Some lessons required powerlessness to sink in. They were becoming excellent students. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.